Good morning, beloved ones. Turn to someone and tell them, I see your light. I see your light. Yes, and it's beautiful. I see your light. See, if you could see what I see from here, you would say, this is amazing. Every time I'm blessed with the sacred opportunity to stand up here and look out into this sacred space, I'm always so touched and so blessed because I see God's light expressing. I see God's beauty. I can feel God's love in the place. Can't you always feel the love that's in this place? Yes, there's a vibration, there's a spirit, there's an energy that comes from within and that we share with one another so that we create a sacred space. We create that force field that we each may enter into and be blessed by. I love it, I love it, I love it. As a result of last week's talk, I hope you are all very mindful of the company you've been keeping. Right? And you'll have to get the talk if you weren't here. You'll have to just get that. But I hope you're being mindful of the company that you're keeping and that you're connected to. You see, it's so vital that we get and we maintain all that will enable us to live happy, healthy, prosperous, and dynamic lives. Life is so precious. And we have to make the most of it. You know, the most of it, because it's also very fleeting. It's also very short. We all think that we have forever, you know, but it's precious and it's fleeting at the same time. And so we've got to make the most of it. And because we truly desire to make the most out of life, sometimes we are concerned with making sure that we not only get the most out of life, but that we give the most into life. And that we are about, our Father's business, that we're doing the right thing, and that we're on the right path and on the right road. I don't know about you, but have you ever wished that you had a road map, right? Something to guide you along your path, something to guide you in life. A friend of mine sent me this little ditty that I thought would provide some good guidelines to live by. I just loved it, and here's what it said. It said, trust before you love, know before you judge, commit before you promise, forgive before you forget, and appreciate before you regret. And when I read that, I just loved it because I thought, well, that seems like pretty good advice, So I thought maybe we would look at each one and see what the message could be for us if we go a little deeper. So let's start with the first one, trust before you love. Now, when I first read that one, at first glance, I said, what? Trust before you love, because shouldn't we always be willing to just love and to love everybody, freely and fully and giving all of our best? Why would we have to trust first before we loved? And as I looked at it a little deeper, I thought, well, this probably the only appropriate place for this particular thought might be in regards to one's personal relationships. Trust before you love. And so I thought, well, there are 4 basic kinds of love. I'm going to use my smartphone. I keep trying to come into the 21st century. And so let's see here. These are the 4 types of love, and we're pretty much familiar with them, but this is according to Greek philosophy. And the first one is agape love, right? Agape love. And it says here, this is an unconditional love that sees beyond the outer surface and accepts the recipient for whom she is, regardless of their flaws, shortcomings, or faults. It's the type of love that everyone strives to have for their fellow human beings. Although you may not like someone, you decide to love them just as a human being. This kind of love is all about sacrifice as well as giving and expecting nothing in return. The translation of the word agape is love in the verb form, means it is the love demonstrated by your behavior towards another person. It is a committed and chosen love. And then there's filial. The filial love refers to an affectionate, warm, tender, platonic love. It makes you desire friendship with someone. It's the kind of love which livens up the agape love. And although you may have an agape love for your enemies, you may not have a filial love for that same person. The translation of the word filio is love and it's as a noun, and it says it is how you feel about someone. It is a committed and chosen love. And then there's storge. It is a kind of family and friendship love. This is the love that parents naturally feel for their children, the love that members of the family have for each other, or the love that friends feel for each other. In some cases, this friendship love may turn into a romantic relationship, and the couple in such a relationship becomes best friends. Storge love is unconditional, accepts flaws or faults, and ultimately drives you to forgive. It's committed, sacrificial, and makes you feel secure, comfortable, and safe. And then, last but not least, there is eros. It is a passionate and intense love that arouses romantic feelings. It is a kind that often triggers high feelings in a new relationship and makes you say, I love him or I love her. It is simply an emotional and could be sexual love. Although this romantic love is important in the beginning of a new relationship, it may not last unless it moves a notch higher, because it focuses more on the self instead of the other person. And so we have all of these loves, these 4 types of love, and I believe that it is this last one, eros, where we may just need to trust before we love, right? Because filio and all the other ones, that seems fine to be able to feel friendship and a sense of family and a sense of connectedness. But it's this last one that we may have to trust before we move into eros. Because see, especially in this generation, I call this the instant gratification generation, right? We want it and we want it now. And even falling in love for them is instant. No more I like you, you like me, I love you, right? It's immediately, and they profess their deep love for one another, you know. And I just think it's so interesting. I laugh when I watch these TV shows. Have you seen The Bachelor and The Bachelorette shows? And I'm thinking, wow, this is really deep, because the contestants are vying for the love of whoever is that chosen person, the chosen bachelor or the bachelorette. And the contestants, and there's like 10, 15 of them, and they're vying for the love of this person. And they go on a few dates, and he has a brief meeting, an encounter with each one of them. And they're professing how deep their love is, you know, in a few dates, and all of a sudden it's on. You know, they want to get married. And I'm like, what? In a week? You know, in a one encounter? Now, I'm not saying you can't find that, you know, that love, but all 15 of them are struck by just instant love. You got to trust before you love. That is, you know, you might want to be familiar with the character of a person. See? You got to be familiar with the character of a person, because everything that glitters is not gold, right? You got to move beyond that surface encounter. That first encounter, ooh, they look good. I'm in love. But you need to go deeper and touch the character, the heart and soul of an individual, and to find out what's there. Are they honest? Do they have inner integrity? Are they kind? Do they have a good work ethic? Are they fair-minded? On and on we could go, because there are some qualities that you need to be able to see before you love, right? Trust before you love. And this is what I find is so interesting, because it takes time to uncover some of these qualities, right? Because everybody can put on a show, and we all do, right? When you first meet that someone, you think, okay, let me just clean up a little bit and make sure that I'm nice and polite, and I'll hold the door open. And, you're in the relationship 2 years from now, and they don't even care whether you get through the door. And it's like, But when you first get together, it's easy to put on that big, that show, right? But give it enough time, and everybody's stuff comes out. Right? All of the stuff that you didn't take the time to notice was there. The red flags. See, sometimes your heart and your nose is so open that you can't see all the red flags, right? The danger signs that say, wait a minute. Slow down a little bit. Look at this, but you can't see that because you're so ready to jump in to eros, to have that connection, but not of the highest vibration in kind. And so you need to be able to trust before you love. And I get that. This next one says, know before you judge. Know before you judge. Now this one can indeed be a blessing to us, know before you judge. We can all be blessed by this particular saying, but yet we can also all be challenged by it because we kind of all fall prey to it. How many times have you judged a situation, a circumstance, or a person, right, before you really even had, again, an opportunity to know them, or to know all of the facts, or to know the particulars of a situation, or to see it in a deeper level or a more complete picture, right? Oftentimes, we're given snap judgments. We think, I know them, I know what they're about. You get a few things, and we think, already, I got it, I put them in the box, I know who they are. And granted, I'm not saying again that you can't, not snap judgments, I'm not saying that you can't have a divine inclination or intuition that comes in. Sometimes, your intuitive sense kicks in, and okay, this is not right, this is not good, it's not for me. So that's different. But I'm talking about not knowing and yet coming to some kind of conclusion and judging a person or a situation. And we've all done it. And the thing that is challenging with this is that it can shut you down sometimes because you might miss something very wonderful and very valuable, again, if you have the time to go into it and to look into it. So there's always more to something than meets the eye. A situation, a circumstance, or a person. Know before you judge. Because it could also save you a lot of heartache and headache, too, if you know beforehand. It could save you a lot from moving into some troublesome situations, right? If you had known and been able to discern before you jumped in to the drama, you could have made a different choice. To know before you judge. To know might mean you're having to ask and to question. You see, we're so afraid, we've been conditioned sometimes not to ask certain things and not to question things. I love it, and there was a phrase in the 60s that said, question everything. Question authority, question everything. Sometimes we're conditioned, shh, don't ask. See, but to know means to ask or to question, because when we don't know and when we don't ask, what happens is we begin to guess. And then we begin to make up stories. right? To convince ourselves that we know. And not only will we make up a story, but we will then make a decision based on that story that may or may not have any truth to it. Again, so we have to figure out, how can I know? Relationships, friendships, or even connections can be ruined when we simply make assumptions or come up with stories about what we think they meant when they said that. Right? Somebody makes a comment and you're not sure where they're coming from, but you don't ask, well, what do you mean by that? We just automatically make an assumption. We make a judgment. We say, well, they meant this, that, and the other, and then off you go. You're hurt. You decide this is not the relationship, the friendship, the connection, whatever for you, and you might be operating on an entirely inaccurate assessment. Ask, so that you can know. Question, so that you know. The scripture says you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. Not guess about the truth, not make up some story about the truth, because we can make the truth fit our own situation, right? So, know before you judge. This next one says, commit before you promise. Oh, this is an easy one. Promises, promises, promises. We love to make promises, right? It's easy to make a promise, but far less than to actually keep it, right? Much harder to keep that promise than it is to make it. So this phrase says, commit before you promise. Now, if there's anything that we as true students know by now, we know that there is power, not only in the Word, right, in the Word of God, but there's power in your Word, right? Is there anybody here who does not know by now that you carry power in your word, in your declarations, in your statements, in your I am statements, in your pronouncements? Power in the word. And when we are not true to our word, forget being true to the word, but when we're not even true to our own word, what happens is we begin to send mixed messages into the ethers, into the universe, and we receive the same in kind. If your word is weak, don't expect things to unfold and demonstrate themselves. Don't expect your good to become a demonstration of good because your word was weak. So we have to understand that, you need to commit before you make a promise. The Bible says that there's power. The power of life and death resides where? In the tongue. That's a deep statement. Think about it. The power of life and death reside in the tongue. You can speak something to life. You can shut life down. You can draw something to you. You can move something away, according to how you use your word. And when we give promises without the intention to fulfill them, it damages our spirit. It weakens our ability to speak the truth and to know that that truth will begin to demonstrate itself. Power of the spoken word. So before you make a promise, commit to fulfilling it. To commit means you've given some kind of forethought, or maybe you've even created a plan of action. Commit before you promise. Think it through. Don't get, again, carried away with the situation. Oh, yeah, I'm going to come and see you every week, or I'm going to come and do something. You have no intention of doing that. You didn't think about it. It was just something being caught up in the motion. So you got to commit before you promise. The next one says, forgive before you forget. Now, we all know the statement, to forgive and what? Forget. You've been told, oh, just forgive and forget. And this sounds good, and it's good advice. It's good advice if you can actually do it in the proper order. Because if you have not forgiven before you forget, rest assured that whatever it is, right, or whatever it was, it may come back round again, right? And it may actually trigger something in you, or the full remembrance of that situation, and perhaps the reliving of that entire circumstance or that situation that you claim to have forgiven. How often do we say to ourselves, well, I'll forgive, but I won't forget, right? I'll forgive. Now, that's a little suspect, because that's fine to say, I'm going to forgive, but I'm not going to forget, if your remembrance doesn't carry some stuff with it, right? If your remembrance doesn't carry, it doesn't have energy, it doesn't have lingering hurt attached to it, or there's no resentment attached to your remembrances, or if there's no charges around the experiences that you supposedly had forgiven. See, unforgiveness is hard on the soul. It really harms our soul, which is our consciousness and our sense of well-being, because it keeps you stuck in the past, and it can limit you in such a degree. I just had a brief counseling encounter a few days ago with a soul who is just so stuck in the past and cannot let it go and cannot, move on, that it's damaging their physical being much and their emotional being, moving them into a state of total shutdown because you can't release the past and embrace the life that is present. Whether they were hurt, whatever it is, if we cannot release it, we cannot move forward. Move forward into new potential, a new position. You can't create something new and dynamic, something that's not based on the old trauma and drama. And we're not saying that you don't have these experiences, but you must be able to handle them and to traverse them and to heal from them, to embrace them, acknowledge them. But then you must move through them and beyond them into a triumphant new beginning. You've got to be able to forgive before you forget, for the safety and sanctity of your own sense of well-being. And the last one probably carries a lot of energy for your spiritual journey as well. And it says, appreciate before you regret. Appreciate before you regret. Life is short, precious, and sweet, And I know that we have all had this experience that we perhaps someone has left us. Someone has left us without our ability to express some level of love for them. Something was left unsaid. Something was left unexpressed, because we think, well, they just kind of know it. They know that I love them. And we don't express it, we don't share it, we don't say it. And then the person leaves for whatever reason, and then we regret not telling them we love them. You ever had that experience? Yes, we regret, I wish I should have done it better. I wish I could have expressed more to this individual, to this situation. And it doesn't have to be about them leaving the planet. It could be simply that a relationship ends because both parties feel unappreciated by the other. And you've been in those situations too, where you felt, well, why am I here? They don't appreciate who I am and what I'm about because it wasn't expressed, and so it ends the relationship. There's something very powerful about appreciation. It's been proven scientifically, the benefits of gratitude, praise, thanksgiving, appreciation, and the effect that it actually has on us. Not just us, as human beings, the effect it has on animals, the effect it has on, little children when you praise them, or when you praise plants. Plants grow stronger when they are appreciated and praised and talked to and acknowledged. All scientific, it goes hand in hand with what we talked about last week, that the vibration of how we're giving out affects each other. It affects life. We're divinely connected. So appreciation is extremely important because it has a power of increase. It has the power to open up the heart. It has the power to heal the body, to heal the mind, to bring everything into alignment. That's what this scientific program called Heart Math has shown. That appreciation brings things in your body, your physical body, into alignment. There's something wonderful and powerful about that. Not only does the other person, the person to whom you are expressing appreciation, feel blessed, but you become blessed as well. You become blessed. Appreciate before you regret. Because regret serves no one, especially you, right? It serves no one. Regret will close you off. It'll shut you down. It'll cause you to be stuck in the past and live in the past, or to constantly be wishing that things would be different. I wish I had done this. I wish I had married Bob instead of Steve. I wish I had done whatever it is. We laugh, but people are living their lives, some of them in regret. And what it does, again, you cannot fulfill the life that you have right before you. If you are regretting something, regret carries guilt and sorrow. It can carry grief. It can carry disappointment. And so we need to begin to have this attitude, they say, of gratitude, but to appreciate. Wake up. You know, I text someone this morning and I said, it's Sunday. God and I are getting ready to do our thing. I wanted to appreciate the day. Appreciate the morning, appreciate the opportunity, the sacred opportunity that I have. I could have gotten up and said, Lord, it's Sunday, right? But I get to choose. There's so many wonderful guidelines and principles that if we were to apply them to our lives would be blessed and transformed. If we actually lived by some of the spiritual principles and guidelines that are available, we would have and experience inner peace, harmony, ease in dealing with whatever life may throw our way. The ups and downs, the ins and outs, trials and tribulations. After all, life is lived from within to the without. So within, so without. And so the only place that we have any control over anything is our inner sanctum, right? It's the within, right? And we really do get to determine our experiences. This is key. We get to determine our experiences. Because how we experience something is up to us. How we name it is up to us. How we see it is up to us. And ultimately then, how we experience it will be up to us. It's powerful. Your interpretation, your points of focus is key to your experience. Do you see the world half full, full with good? Or is it, half empty, filled with lack, limitation, terrible people, terrible things? And believe me, when that's what you see, that's what you get. That's your reality. And what I have found is when people come from that limitation, from that point of view, from that focus, you cannot convince them that the world can be otherwise, because they cannot see it. Because they're looking through the lens of limitation. And so for them, that will be their experience. And because they experience that, they think that that is reality, because it's real for them. I have a different reality. I have a different experience. I see the world as a place that is designed to bless me unconditionally, to bless me infinitely, to bless me, beyond my wildest imagination. That's how I want to see the world. And because of that, guess what? I am so blessed. I see it, I name it, I claim it, and it comes to me. I have faith. That's right. I claim that. So this is a wonderful opportunity for us to understand, friends. Life is for living, and it's for living well. Even in the midst of trials and tribulations, life is for living and for living well. And when we allow ourselves to be led and guided and directed by spiritual principles and guidelines, then we have something magical, something tremendously wonderful. Trust before you love. Know before you judge. Commit before you promise. Forgive before you forget, and appreciate before you regret. So I'm going to tell you, I tell you all the time, but I'm going to tell you again, I love you all tremendously. I love you. I love this ministry. I love this sacred space that we are creating together. I see us as light workers and light bearers and coming together to lift each other up, to support each other, to affirm each other. I hold that vibration that we will always put forth good in the world, that this place, Unity of Washington, D.C., is a center of light and love that draws to it people who are also light bearers, putting forth good, doing the work. I'm trusting before I love because I know who you are. I'm knowing you. I have no need to judge you. I've committed my whole self to you, not empty promises. And I forgive anything and everyone, and I ask you to forgive me if there's anything that I have ever done, so that we can all just forget it and be present to what is available to us, which is God's goodness. And I certainly appreciate no regrets. Blessings. Namaste. Namaste.